Hello and welcome back to our third episode on this podcast. Today we will be talking about learning support, and I'm here with Elle and Miss Austin. Would you like to say hello?
Hello.
Hello.
So let's get started.
When have you started going to learning support?
I started learning support back in 5th grade, where I was taken out of class, usually during maths, and I can't remember her name, but her name was like MacConnell or something like that. And we would test how fast I could read and then do some maths as well, I think. And then sometimes it would be alone, and sometimes I would have another student there as well.
Okay. For me, I started way younger than that. I started in 2nd grade when I kept on getting pulled out of classes, and when I stopped going to French because my parents were like, okay, French is not good for her right now. She has to do English, practice English. But yeah, I've always been in learning support. I mean, it's helped me very much.
I actually did EAL before I found out I was dyslexic instead of French.
Yeah. So, Miss Austin, how do you think how the learning support is in our school? How well do you think it's developed through over the years?
So I have been at ISL for 10 years now, and I have seen some changes and development in the way we offer support to our students here. I think overall we do a good job. We have lots of success from our students and we get good feedback from them. Of course, I think that there are ways we can continue to improve, and the school is looking at that. It's interesting to hear what both of you say about your experiences in the lower school here. And I have known for a while that as you go through the different stages of school, that the learning support, what you see will be different, and that is very developmentally appropriate. Because when you're in lower school, you start by learning to read, and then so in the lower school learning support, they're going to be giving you those basic skills that you need. More what's called remediation, and that would be why you are pulled out of classes sometimes. But then as you get up into middle school, you know your support changed a lot. You did have those separate classes, but you weren't pulled out of class. It was in place of one of the languages, and then you had support teachers in your classes with you. And then in high school, it changes again. We still have classes of learning support, but those are still usually in place of a language. In some cases where the student's strength is languages, we might have them instead of something else. And we are less often in the classes with you, because what we're hoping is that you already have started taking the skills we're teaching you in learning support and taking them out to your other classes. So that's an area that we are trying to grow, though, is to be more in the classes supporting you in there as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, because when I was younger, especially in lower school, we were reading, doing the basic skills of adding and subtracting, and the skills that might have taken us a lot longer to get a hold of. And then when we came into middle school, then we kind of worked on the strategies that worked for us and different ones, and then we found the ones that worked well for our learning style. and which ones work. Yeah, I think.
No.
And then now that you're in the IB, what are you finding? What do you think works for you in learning support, or what are things that you feel could be better?
What things that could be better?
Well, I think it's alright. Just in lower school, I don't think they necessarily let the children. I don't know about now, but when I was in 5th grade, I didn't know this other student who was with me had dyslexia. All I know is like, oh, they're like me. They're also taken out of class. Which I don't know if that was the right way of going, or if they changed that now, or they let you know.
In high school in the IB, I think it's kind of similar to when we were in IGCC. Obviously, how it's another time frame that we can use to get things done that might take us longer to get done. It helps us, like with another teacher, if we want like something like in maths explained differently, then we can get them to explain it in a way that we can understand it.
I think in middle school it was more of learning how to study, like learning the different ways. And then in high school, it's where you kind of got what you wanted, and then you focused more on how to do tests and getting on top of things.
So throughout the years, what has been your like favorite teacher and their learning style?
In teacher in general, I would say, Mr. Ertl. I liked him.
Yeah.
He was very, like, he wrote everything down. He was also visual, and he was he's really well on keeping the class focused. Like in 6th grade, I remember him throwing ice across the room and lighting a table on fire. And we're like, yes, let's get ready to learn.
Yeah. For me, the best teacher that I've ever had is Miss Vickers. I had her in 3rd grade and 6th grade. In 3rd grade, when people were like maybe reading on their own or doing something, she would like sit with me and I would read to her, so she would get me to practice reading aloud and like working on my the pace I read at. And if I didn't understand a word, she would like explain it to me. And if I was doing math tests, and she would give me like 10 more minutes to finish, or how long I needed to finish off the math sheet that she gave me when everyone else was done. So she kind of made me feel like I was not special, but like she understood how I worked and what I needed to improve on. So I think she was the best teacher for me.
So it sounds like what you both are saying is that teachers that motivated you and understood you, or what really made you like them, appreciate what they were doing for you. So motivation and understanding are keys.
I had Miss Rapicki twice, and I remember in 2nd grade, I still remember this one song where she would make songs about learning. Like there's one with mathematics where it's like numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator.
Also, I think like teachers that draw on the boards and make it visual instead of like lots of text on like from like a textbook or something. They would like explain it with using visuals, so we could like during the test, maybe if you had a photographic memory, then you could go back to that image and draw it, or like explain it with using that diagram in your head that you've had. So people who just like make things easier, so visually, so we can see it and it's not a bunch of words.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you think it's a good idea for people to have learning support in schools?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that schools might not have that may give children the more confidence to go into the school which has it. So they feel like they're in a bubble which is safe and they can talk about what they find.
Yeah, they have a safe place to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do you think about learning sport in school?
Oh, I think you absolutely have to have it. You know, every student, every person has individual differences, times or ways that they're stronger or not as strong. But for people that have like diagnosed differences and disabilities, it's really important that we address those and teach them strategies, give them tools and techniques to, you know, to do their best, to achieve what they want to achieve. And that's where learning support is so important. And I like what you said about the confidence. It's helping students to see that, oh, it's, you know, not something wrong with you, but these are your strengths, and these are ways you can work with those strengths and develop and give you the confidence to do all that you can.
Yeah, and do the best that you can do with your learning challenges that you have. And if there's someone in your class, like me and Sophie, we work well because we know like our challenges together, and we can like challenge each other and like questions. And so if you have like learning support and then you find someone in the learning support which you can talk to and become friends with, then it helps you a lot to go through high school because you can talk to that person about things you're struggling with. They can like maybe explain it in a different way how they learned it. So Miss Austin, when did you like decide to become a teacher with this subject, and how did you get inspired to?
I think that since I was a teenager, I've always been interested in helping others. And when I did that, I learned that I grew and learned as well. And so I really loved that. And I just keep being drawn to positions and places where I can help people that are like less understood or different or something like that. And so I've continued, like since I was in high school, more and more in the path of learning support.
Yeah, because for me, I love like helping younger students to find their own way and find the things that help them. So in the future, I would want to help children in a certain way like you do. Just think it's inspiring to like younger people who might want to become like their teacher, or maybe even if they have a teacher which like is dyslexic, and you can see that there is a pathway that everyone has, and you can go down any route that you want. And if you find an older person like that, then you can ask them and how they got there and trying to figure out your own path.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Is it like a course in university to become a learning support teacher?
Yes, there is, and of course, it depends what country you're in. Being from the United States, I actually did my undergraduate degree in something very broad called human development, and then I did a master's in special education, and I actually just went back to school last year to do another master's of teaching, in special education. And so at each stage, I learned a little bit more and a little bit differently. In education in general, it is important to stay on top of things and continue to take classes because there's always new information coming out about it. And so just this last time back at university, I learned lots of new things that they've come out with. And to continue my learning, I do listen to podcasts and read papers often.
Yeah. For me, I've been looking at universities to see which ones are best and like which pathways I should take if I want to become a learning support teacher. Because I'm not sure if you need to have you need to know how their brain works or I don't know really which path to take.
So my personal opinion, as my undergraduate was in human development, I did learn a lot about how we as people develop from infancy through adulthood, and then also how people have developed from back in time, how and I feel that has really informed my teaching because we're all people, right? We all have some similarities in there. And so I found that to be very beneficial to know about development in general, and then the specifics in, so how do we read these evaluations? How do we help these people with specific evaluations, with specific learning profiles? And then what are the methods of instruction that work best for all students or for these particular type of students? So I like that way, but you might be interested in something different, so you might start in a different area and then go on from there.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything to say, Sophie?
I don't know if you know, but is learning support, of course it may be different in different countries. Like I'm pretty sure that when my parents were in school, which was a little, I have to be careful because they listen to this podcast, but when they were in school, I'm pretty sure they didn't have something like learning support, but I'm not sure if learning support was popular, you could say.
Yeah, very likely it was not. It is, yes. It is growing and it is different in different countries. Like I know in the United States, we are still changing and growing, but it is a law now that all children have to get a free appropriate education. And if that appropriate means that they need support services or special education, then they have to get it. And the school or the school district has to pay for it. To a certain extent. There are kind of rules about that, but and I know that hasn't always existed. In fact, we can go back not that long ago when students were excluded from schools because they couldn't function, they couldn't make progress, that they couldn't make the appropriate progress in the mainstream classrooms.
Yeah, I think the public Luxembourg schools, there's one, I don't know which one, but there was one that didn't have the support system, so a student couldn't go there because she couldn't, I don't know, she couldn't get in or whatever. And then I'm not sure like how that works, but there was like a diploma you have to get at the end of your school, like your schooling, and then they weren't allowed to get the full diploma or something because they had a learning challenge. So I don't know.
I've heard that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how schools approach learning challenges differently and how they don't like equalize everyone out. So.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think? Because I know that I think in the US there's like schools that only have people with who need learning support together. Would you say that that's better than like what we have now, where we have all kinds of children and then there's just some that go to learning support?
I think it really is going to vary on the student and their needs. So sometimes their learning needs are so severe, they need so much support that it doesn't make sense for them to be in a school like this.
Yeah.
For example, some of my practicum work last year was at an institute for autism, and those students were moved from the regular public school to this school because it would make no sense for them to be even to be learning their multiplication tables.
Yeah.
So in cases like that, it is much more appropriate for them to be at a specialized school. But if their disability is similar to you guys, mild to moderate, and we can just do some accommodations and teach you some strategies and techniques, it is so much better for you to be in the environment with your peers.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It depends on how severe it is, and how you, like the way you learn. If it's like physical, probably they have like schools which are like for physical need children who need extra support, like you said. So I think for me and Sophie, maybe for us to be in a school like we are now, I think it's good, right? Because like we get an exposure to all sorts of people, and when we like go out of school, then because universities, I'm not sure if they have.
They do. I had a higher education meeting like 2 weeks ago, and Mr. Heist said that the higher education office and the school doesn't support universities that don't allow accommodations and support, because that's just uneducation. Like they don't.
Yes, because there are very, very capable, high achieving students who have learning disabilities. I have a few graduates that have gone on to King's College, to Imperial, to study medicine now, and so they can do those things, but their universities need to understand that they might need extra time, they might need a reader, they need these accommodations to show what they know and understand.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions.
There's no more questions?
No.
All right. Thank you for listening, and thank you for Miss Austin being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
And we'll see you in next week's podcast. Goodbye.